There are multiple ways to get a green card, but the focus of this video will be on family-based petitions, particularly spousal or marriage-based green card petitions. I'll share some 17 practical tips we've gathered over the years of our experience. Now stay tuned. So the purpose of the interview is to determine the accuracy and completeness of the information provided in your applications, petitions, and to test the credibility of the subjects on certain material issues, which cannot be resolved on the basis only of the documents submitted by the applicants. So let's start and get on to our list. Firstly, don't be complacent. We've encountered countless couples who often tell me, our marriage is legitimate, there's nothing to prepare and we can handle all the questions. These are the same people who experience the most unpleasant interviews. There's no substitute for preparation because that will instill the right amount of confidence in you. Secondly, study sample questions. You could actually Google sample adjustment interview questions or ask them from your attorney. Make sure you and your spouse study, create, and practice truthful answers. You'll be surprised how these sample questions can be tricky to address properly unless you study well enough. Pay attention to the smallest details of your answers. Minor inconsistencies are allowed, but major ones and opposing responses usually have dire consequences, as they will heighten the suspicion of the interviewer. Thirdly, review the entries on your USCIS forms. Your interviewer will ask you certain information you provided in the USCIS forms. You're expected to know your own personal information and circumstances and that of your spouse. You're expected to know the names of the children of your spouse from another marriage, if there are any, the names of your parents-in-law, and even that of your brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Fourthly, arrive early to the interview. The USCIS will advise you not to come earlier than 45 minutes before the scheduled interview to avoid overcrowding in the waiting room. Nevertheless, I always advise our clients to arrive at least an hour and 15 minutes early at the venue and just check in 45 minutes before the scheduled time. Arriving earlier will acclimatize you with the relatively hostile and stressful environment. If you're late and your name is called, you'll be rescheduled. Number 5. Don't forget to bring the original supporting documents. USCIS allows you to submit photocopies of your supporting documents, but you're expected to bring the original copies during the interview. So make sure they're well organized, ideally in a binder and properly tabbed for ready access. USCIS adjudicators don't like to see you frantically searching for a piece of documentation and wasting time. Number 6, bring more pictures, in addition to the pictures you've already submitted. There's no better evidence of the legitimacy of your relationship and marriage than presenting more pictures of you and your spouse before, during, and after your wedding. Make sure you put them in 3 different albums, past, present, and after wedding pictures, with annotations for the place and the date where these pictures were taken. We suggest 30 to 50 more pictures with a lot of people, friends and relatives around you, taken at different occasions and locations. And number 7, don't forget to bring your ID and appointment notice. You'll surely not be allowed to gain access to the USCIS Federal Field Office building if you don't have a government-issued ID and a USCIS appointment notice. Security personnel are very strict on this matter. You'll need to bring the appointment notice, just put it on the paper tray, so you can check in at the designated window to inform the assigned USCIS adjudicator that you're present and ready for interview. Number 8, don't bring prohibited materials. Guns, Swiss Army knives, cutters, lighters, blades, and the like are not allowed. Strict security measures are enforced and you don't need unnecessary embarrassment, delay, and attention on your way to the interview. Number 9, dress appropriately for the interview. Wear business attire so you look dignified and respectful. For men, do shave and comb your hair. Trim your long hairs and look clean. I often see people wearing shorts, plain t-shirt with an unshaved face, unkempt hair, and sometimes a sleeveless shirt. It shows lack of respect to the proceedings. For women, you're not there to show how attractive you are in a miniskirt or in a plunging neckline, as they could distract or bother the USCIS adjudicator and other people inside the building. Number 10, don't forget to wear your wedding ring and act normal. As a married couple, you're expected to be somewhat sweet to each other, but act appropriately. If you feel like holding the hands of your spouse during the interview, that's fine, but no more than that, please. Engagement rings and wedding rings are expected to be worn during the interview because the interviewer will ask questions about the details of the purchase, sometimes the preference for design or who decided. Make sure to bring the receipts evidencing the purchase of those rings. If you don't have an engagement ring, that's fine, but wedding rings, no need to buy the expensive ones, they are a must. Number 11, while waiting, only one of the spouses should go to the restroom. Don't go to the restroom simultaneously with your spouse because if your name is called, no one is going to advise the USCIS adjudicator that you are in the restroom. Go to the restroom at different times and listen carefully to the names that are being called out for interview. Don't use your cell phone while inside the waiting room unless it's extremely necessary. Number 12, show confidence without being boastful or arrogant. Have the mindset that you're applying for a job. You'll not get the job if you act nervous, distrustful, out of lack of confidence, your hands are shaking and your voice cracking. So just stay calm. And don't show any negative emotions when you don't like the questions or when the interviewers tend to be suspicious and insulting. Be modest and acknowledge their authority to decide your case. Number 13, when answering questions, make sure to simultaneously present documents or pictures to support your answers. Your narrative of certain facts will sound credible every time you simultaneously exhibit pictures and documents supporting such facts. Make occasional reference to other pictures and documents that can further support any other material facts. For example, if you say you spent your honeymoon in Europe, make sure to show those pictures in Europe airline tickets, boarding passes, hotel receipts to prove such trips. Number 14, listen to questions carefully. Maintain eye contact all the time and listen to the questions intently. Stay focused. Request the USCIS adjudicator to repeat the question if you don't understand fully because you might be giving answers that weren't even asked. And instead of trying to conclude the interview earlier, you're actually slowing it down, not to mention wasting the time of the interviewer. Worse, you might also be giving totally wrong answers that could cause a denial of your case. Number 15, don't expound. When the question is answerable by a yes or no, don't try to explain, because in the course of doing so, you might make your case more complicated. Remember, less talk, less mistakes, and less inconsistencies. Number 16, be honest. When you aren't sure of your answer, don't guess, and be humble enough to say, I don't know, or I can't recall. If you have something irregular or seemingly suspicious about your case, and you've already sought an attorney's advice about it, it's way better to be honest and explain what really happened consistent with your attorney's advice than trying to conceal it. Number 17, if you have an attorney, bring him along. I know a lot of you don't want to bring your attorney because either you're too confident you can handle the interview or you want to save on the appointment fees. Others think that by bringing in an attorney, it will send the wrong signal to the USCIS adjudicator that maybe there's something fishy or fraudulent about the case. Those aren't true. You are entitled to legal representation. And if you had an attorney assist you at the filing stage, the USCIS adjudicator expects you to bring your attorney with you come interview time. Okay, well that's it for our U.S. immigration interview for spousal or marriage-based green card petitions. So now it's time to hear from you. Which of the tips from this video do you think is very important that cannot be ignored? Let me know by leaving a comment below right now. Now we're also giving you a chance to directly talk to Ponferrada Law Offices, a California-based U.S. immigration lawyer. Just visit the link below to get your free legal consultation today.